What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Opendoor. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what is really moving it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with macro data, we did have a couple things that came out first thing. So pending home sales month over month and year over year came in better than the forecast. So that's a positive. It really signals that there's an increase in demand. But we did have Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index coming in at negative 10.9, forecast of negative 2.5. So we actually did contract more than what was forecasted. So that's not all that great. But normally the market would actually take that as a positive, inversely positive, because it would justify a rate cut. But there's a lot of big things that's happening in the broader market. So right now, Opendoor is kind of at the mercy of the broader market, because we can see from the flow right over here that a lot of the transactions being done are linked to algorithmic trading. So unfortunately, like a lot of what I'm going to mention doesn't and isn't directly correlated with Opendoor. So Opendoor's again just getting kind of moved around by the broader market. But Iran, that's a hot topic that's being brought up. I personally think that's just a baseless threat of war and whatever else, as what has happened many times in the past. But the market's taken this as a certain level of just uncertainty, and the market doesn't like uncertain things right now, and this is why you're seeing oil move up 2.39%. The other point is, interestingly enough, linked to silver. So silver is consolidating, down 9.46%, gold down 4.45%. But silver, in case you haven't seen the headlines, it went on a crazy rally, hit a high of about 83.44%. Over the last 1 year, it's been doing absolutely amazing. But it does appear as though that a lot of big banks actually were shorting silver. They were betting against it, despite the momentum that it did have. And just on like December the 26th, so day after Christmas, there was almost $18 billion that was borrowed on a short-term loan to avoid margin calls. So kind of crazy stuff. So silver rallying as much as it did, you actually had that put a lot of strain on the actual financial system. So let me know your general thoughts on that. So kind of crazy. So I know this happened way back in 2023. We also had a scare in 2024, but a lot of banks betting on the wrong direction of the market potentially could cause some to be insolvent. So kind of crazy stuff on how that all is playing out. But with silver consolidating right now, like I said, down 9.46%, I think that should hopefully help, as long as they haven't already been margin called. But specific to Opendoor, no news, no SEC filings, no speculative topics being brought up on over the weekend whatsoever from CAS or various members. So it's been and is at the mercy of the broader market right now. Shorts are increasing about 73,000 shares, so not too much. 15.26% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 119 million shares overall being shorted. Shares on loan being at 92 mil, so still some signs of naked shorting is occurring. DTC is starting to kind of tick up, not because shorts are doubling or tripling down, rather Opendoor is experiencing lower and lower volume. So DTC does factor in the average volume in comparison to number of shares being shorted. So it's all just ratios. All of this, in fact, is just ratios and kind of metrics and all that fun jazz. But looking at the options, 1.7 million in calls, 834,000 in puts. 48% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. Most was done in the first 1 hour of the trading day. So it looks like people are betting that there's going to be more downside. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 650 by the end of this week, which is a shorter week on a side note. And then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 550. And there's a lot of heavy betting that's going to be sub 550. So something just to keep in mind. From the secondary market, we're seeing about 4 transactions that are sells, 2 are buys. So it's kind of somewhat evenly divided. As I already mentioned, I think 2 times, Opendoor is just getting moved through algorithmic trading. So big money's not really doing too much. They're kind of just sitting back and watching. These are all the transactions occurring on the the dark pool above $100,000. There you go, the 29th. I originally had the 26th, so my bad on that. But these are all the transactions, so nothing really of significance. You do see a lot of hold numbers, so like 30,000, 50,000. So that's hedge funds just rebalancing. And we do have a couple of trading days left before Q4 does conclude. And so that's just them rebalancing. Aside from that though, with it at 583, it is trading between this S1 and this S2. So 576 and 596 is going to be the next strong support as well as target. So possibly today we might be hitting this S2, depending on how much we actually do sell off. Flip side, so that 596, we kind of bounced off of that for the general high for today. Aside from all of that fun stuff, quickly popping over on the actual chart, things don't really look that great. The only positive is the fact that stochastic RSI is very oversold, and you can kind of see that based on this right here. But right now it is below that 10, 50 and 100-day moving averages. 200 is sitting at 392. So all in all, not necessarily the best as far as the chart, but then again, the market seems to be very much risk adverse right now. And Opendoor, in my opinion, is a very big momentum play. And so in order for any momentum play to really move higher, such as what happened, you need capital to get in. And right now, capital is kind of very unsure about many different things. So that's ultimately why Opendoor is kind of consolidating a little bit. Looking at the market position, you see a lot of willing buyers around that 526. So that could be, again, potentially the next point to kind of watch for. But let me know your general thoughts. Are you buying Opendoor? Are you selling? What's your general viewpoint on, for instance, Iran? Banks betting against silver, as crazy as that sounds. Like, what's your general thoughts on all of that? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid on-point buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Despite the crazy volatility that is happening, a lot of the signals I've been putting out are on point. Many actually, in fact, the day trades I just put out are up like 30+%. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.